Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's really refreshing to be an in-person event since COVID happened. This is definitely the first, especially in our industry, and I really love it. Um, just going straight into the topic, please could the panelists introduce themselves when they answer the questions? What does developing a diverse and social inclusivity mean to you? Starting with Ricky.
Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Rakhi. I head the overall programmatic business for India Today Group, which is a leading publisher in India. I also take care of their influencer marketing. The question is pretty tricky because we are a leading publisher in a media house, and we have to be very, very cautious in what goes in social media. We do have a very good reach in social media. We're there on Facebook, Instagram, we are all around. But in terms of content, we are pretty sensitive on what goes out. It has to be factual information. We ensure that it reaches out to the right audience at the right time when it breaks, and it's all factual. On the other hand, we also do brand advertising. So when we do brand advertising, we ensure the advertisers who come up with advertising on our site, the brands are diligently, we see that there's no porn content and, uh, any tobacco or liquor, any kind of brands, they don't advertise with us. We follow our own media guidelines when the advertising is being done. However, we also keep a balance. So it's all about balance and checks. We advertise and propagate with a balance. That's what I believe in, and that's how it's going in India. But in terms of the influencer marketing, if you ask us, we have a lot of micro, macro influencers, and we are doing advertising with them. We try to have an inclusive advertising. We've done campaigns right now we've recently kickstarted, we've done campaigns with, as niche as steel brands where, we've taken civil influencers and gone and done campaigns. So, it's all about a perfect balance that we have to do.
Denise, Priyanka will come back to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Denise Michelle of Bridge the Love. I am the self-love alchemist. I'm a self-love expert, life purpose coach, and RTT hypnotherapist. And going into the socials, the world of social media, the way that I have found to be most impactful is through authenticity and realness. I keep it real. I talk about the things that we don't typically love to talk about, but they're a part of our human life. Anything from self-love, self-care, self-healing, all the way down to grief, to death, to experiencing being human. Because we're human, we have human emotions. And I really, truly believe that once we can start taking off the mask, and we start discovering and uncovering the deeper parts of ourselves, this is where the connection happens. And that's what I've been able to do with my social media presence, and this is what I encourage other people to do, because when it comes down to it, we're not here to be robots. We're here to connect at the heart level. And if we have a hard time connecting with ourselves, how are we really, truly supposed to connect with other people? And that goes much deeper into my, I guess you can call it my mission of radiating love into the world, and it all starts with ourselves. So I personally love to ask deep questions and bring up interesting and different topics via social media to make people think outside of the box. Because we're here to create. We're here on this planet to create and to live life with purpose. And I feel like if we can go deeper with our purpose, then we can go deeper with how we are here changing the world. And that's really my perspective on it.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
Vilma?
Hello, everyone. I'm Vilma. I'm co-founder of 5IRE. We represent 5.0 technologies such as blockchain, and our aim is to impact 1 billion people. and we are already in the mission impacting a lot of people in Nigeria, in India. We have 250 million people pilot program in India helping people in the ground. And in terms of how to communicate to the clients, first of all, we are very interactive. We start by being interested in how do they think, what do they think, what are they thinking next, what is their mission, and asking them questions so that all of our clients, providers, as well as followers can comment on how do they feel about controversial topics. We also raise through neutrality questions that are concern in the society. We ask difficult questions such as, for example, what means impact, how to measure that, and we reflect success stories of our customers. We share their joy, and we also aim to replicate the success of any of our clients or providers. Therefore, we always claim that, of course, without you, there is no us. So I think that all the social media comes from understanding how to build strong communities, how to replicate communities in different industries, as well as how to understand, for example, from developers have very different interests than, let's say someone in health industry. So as we marketers, we need to put ourselves in different positions to understand the mental models and behaviors of different people. I would encourage you to first of all, create a dialogue with them, ask a lot of questions, not just from their work, but mostly in their hobbies, in their interests, to be able to communicate them through their through the levels and at which those people resonate with you. We also do a lot of polls to understand the thought processes of our followers. We also do a lot of live streaming and voice chats to understand what do they care about and what are they most afraid of, because in the end, why people take action, either they are inspired, either they are afraid, or either they are admiring something or someone. So that's how we encourage people around the world to take action with us.
Thank you, Vilma. Opulent Amy.
Thank you. So my name is Amy Lin. I'm the founder and CEO of the Opulent Academy. I help entrepreneurs to create a quantum leap by tapping into their infinite potential, by teaching them how to, with the power of their mind. And when it comes to that questions with social inclusion and diversity, I think like what Denise was saying, that even though we're all unique individuals, but the essence of who we are, deep down inside, we're all human beings. So as human beings, we all have fears and the similar desires. So when it comes to, especially on the social media presence, is that there are 2 points. Is number one is how do you relate? How do you relate to others? And when people see you on the social media platform, how do they bypass the social presence or your race, or your gender, your age? And then the second point is relatability, and what Denise was saying, being genuine. If you're being genuine and being authentic and people can relate to you, then you're able to include everybody and all the audiences. Thank you.
Awesome. Priyanka, I have a special question for you. Are brands socially inclusive?
Thank you, Dashinga. This is Priyanka Ravindran. I run a creative promotional agency based out of India. We work extensively with films, entertainment projects, celebrities. We handle their social media. We handle promotions on ground, offline, online for these films. Are brands socially inclusive? That's a very good question. 20 years ago, if you had asked this question to any advertiser, the whole point of whether brands need to be socially inclusive would have been a question at all. But today, we are living in a time where feedback on social media is instant. So if a brand is not inclusive on social media, they get to hear about it immediately. And this has definitely helped a lot of brands shape how they talk on social media. especially coming from a country like India where diversity is the biggest selling point of the country. You have various languages, you have various ethnicities, and such being the case, we definitely need brands to come out and talk to different audiences in different manners. We have national level brands that are taking the effort to customize their communication in different languages. Without mentioning the name of a brand, recently one of the biggest food delivery brands in India had gotten into trouble when one of their customer service executives received a call from someone in Tamil Nadu, which is a state in India which speaks Tamil. And this customer service executive spoke in Hindi, which is very different from Tamil. And when the customer had requested that the customer service executive either talk in English, which is a common language that both of them could understand, or link him up to someone who knew Tamil, the customer service executive was not open for it. And this created this whole conversation that happened on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, where people started talking about how a brand, which is a national brand, which caters to the whole of the country, can ignore 8 crore population. Such conversations open a world of inclusivity that brands suddenly start realizing. Not all brands don't want to be inclusive. Sometimes brands just don't know that they're being non-inclusive. So I think we are improving. A lot of brands have become better, but there's still a long way to go. That's my opinion.
And just to add to that, a brand that everyone has strongly seen support social inclusivity is definitely Nike, and how when Colin Kaepernick took the knee, they rolled out an entire campaign with him. They've supported Caster Semenya about the gender role, and they consistently continue to support social issues. Just recently in the pandemic, they turned their factories into PPE manufacturing units. So Nike is always a great company to follow. Ricky, the question for you is, as a traditional media head, what role do you feel your brands should play in being diverse and socially inclusive?
I think if you ask about our media house, being a media house, it has to be a very balanced approach where you need to be socially inclusive as well as with a balance. It cannot be that you just go all about and be socially inclusive, because then, you know, you'll be trolled and you could get into trouble. The information has to be factual and correct, and you need to be socially inclusive. On the other hand, since I'm taking care of the digital advertising and as well as influencer marketing also, I see a lot of rise of, you know, nano and micro and macro influencers. So when we go about doing a campaign, we try to target and, you know, reach out to the exact audiences and give the brand what they require, but with a balance. And when we also do a post for the same on our channels, maybe on the Facebook or on Twitter, it has to be with the branded guidelines. There's a long way to go, but we have to keep a balance. Otherwise, in India, you know, there's a lot of trolling and issues that come up. But definitely, I think inclusiveness is required. Otherwise, you know, it's very difficult. I mean, you have to be inclusive, but with a balance. That's what we should follow.
Thank you for that, Ricky. Denise, as a self-love coach, how do you feel you can inspire and empower others to be socially inclusive and diverse, personally, professionally, and socially?
Great question. Actually, you know what? Let's everybody do something a little different. Everybody take your left hand and place it over your heart. And then close your eyes. And I want you to take a moment to notice the breath that is breathing you right now. I want you to notice that your heart is beating, and you are doing nothing to make your heart beat, that your heart is beating because you are a miracle on this planet. And then I want you to relax your eyes, relax your jaw, relax your teeth, relax your tongue. And then I want you to take a deep breath in, and just take a moment to hold your breath, and then gently let your breath go. And then I want you to take a moment and visualize yourself 1 month from now. Who are you 1 month from now? Where are you? How do you feel? Are you peaceful? Are you joyful? Are you grateful? Are you blessed? I want you to notice what's surrounding you, your family, your friends, the things that are important to you, making an impact. I want you to notice your facial expression, and I want you to notice how you are standing your ground on this planet. And then I'm just going to bring you back. 5, 4, 3, 2. Notice where you are in the room. 1. And then gently open your eyes. Did you feel that?
Relaxed.
There you go. So there it is, right? That's part of what it is. It's the connection here to the heart. Everything comes from the heart. Everything that we do comes with purpose. And if we allow ourselves to tap into our vision, our dreams, and we continue to see the bigger picture and connect with that bigger picture, our why, this is what I believe creates the most impact, inspiration, and empowerment in people. Now, when we have continual blocks and masks on because we want to show up a certain way, we're doing ourselves a great disservice because we're playing a part that's not fully true. But if we start to open ourselves through healing, whatever that may be, and go a little bit deeper and to start to understand, and when you start to release those layers of yourself, this is where the impact happens. And then this is how you create the connection. So I really, truly believe that love is the most powerful medicine. It is the highest vibration that we could possibly be in. And it is my belief that we are either always operating from love or fear. The question is, what are you choosing to feed? So, in my perspective, personally, professionally, and globally, I believe our solutions in the world can be found through love. If we continue meeting people and lowering our vibration, lowering our awareness to where other people are, we're not going to get anywhere. It is up to us to create that higher vision, that higher vibration, to make that, to see the solution. There's a saying that says, sleep on it, meditate on it, right? What you just did with your heart, you visualized something, you felt it. Right there, you start to create solutions from a higher place. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. That was awesome. I forgot we were at a marketing conference. I thought we were in a yoga class. Amy, as an opulent coach, how do you feel how do you encourage your peers and clients to showcase the life that they want through social inclusivity and diversity?
Sure, thank you. So one of the ways for long-term strategies for social media inclusion and diversity is actually show, don't tell. So what does that mean? Is that instead of, as companies or business owners, instead of telling your prospects or audience what you can do for them, show them. And one of the ways to do that is actually showing them case studies or success stories, as I call it, of your clients. And because even though we're all different, we're all unique individuals, like I said earlier, deep down inside, we're all the same. So if you can showcase the different cultures, ages, or background, doesn't matter what it is, if you can bypass that, and then the audience can relate to that, they said, oh, I look at this case study and, oh, I can relate to this person, I can relate to their story, and I see where they're at before, and then I see their results afterwards, then they can relate to that, and they said, oh, maybe I can work with this person or buy this product, and I can get the same results. So being able to include everybody, regardless of the diversity, age, or gender, is showcase testimonials. I think that's one of the greatest ways how you can do that.
Thank you. Priyanka, as a social media and content strategist, how do you ensure there's diversity and social inclusivity, especially when each brand has a different brand guideline and culture from another brand?
that's where the difficulty is, because when you are building a brand, you know what your brand stands for. And I hope all your brands do stand for inclusivity. But when you run an agency and you have 10, 20, 30 different clients, and each of your clients have different opinions and different viewpoints towards inclusivity, how do you deal with it? For instance, you would have one brand which is run by a person of a certain religion. And again, going back to the topic of India, for instance, if one of your clients is a staunch follower of a particular religion, and she or he does not want to put out any content that celebrates, let's say, a Christmas or celebrates another religion's festival, how do you convince your client that your personal belief is something else, what your brand needs to stand for is something else? Because you're living in a country and you're functioning out of a country and you're making profit out of a country which stands for diversity. So that is where sometimes we do have trouble, because ultimately we need to convince the client to see the bigger picture, which is a brand that is built out of inclusivity. And of course, the broader picture with inclusivity is gender inclusivity. When we work with a lot of real estate clients, one of the common things that we see happening is they want to include a man buying a home in all communications. Does that mean a woman cannot buy a home? Does that mean women are not financially capable of buying a home? The only place where a woman is included in the picture is when a man is shown along with the woman in the picture. So the man buys the home for his family. So these are certain situations and cases where we very commonly see non-inclusivity. It's not something that the brand is consciously doing. Very often these brands do it without really realizing that they're being non-inclusive. So as social media strategists, as people who run agencies, we are constantly trying to educate the client without making it seem like we're educating them, because ultimately this is all an ego game. But we're trying our best to do what we can to raise awareness about inclusivity.
Thank you. Vilma, as your company operates globally and attends to social issues, how do you communicate to your clients in different industries and countries to be socially inclusive?
Firstly, we take in consideration their culture and heritage and don't touch upon in critical issues. By claiming something we do question, and we give our clients open floor to answer the questions, respect their own opinions, but we don't stand radically behind any certain political or environmental opinion. In addition to that, we mostly ask them for collaboration. We ask them for encourage diversity, meaning that we do bring some people from our community to stand for causes. However, our company itself doesn't stand for causes. Therefore, we call them as community members, who of course gain the name of ambassador because they are very active in the community. But I would say that keeping in mind the heritages of each cultures and celebrating everyone's diversity. Therefore, we do participate in festives in each of the nations' festives that we represent as a plus 100 people company. We do post pictures of a different diverse background, but we also understand that minorities need visibility, but not in terms of creating an argument, but in terms of creating a discussion and awareness of what everyone is doing. So I would say that leave in your media open questions. Don't just give suggestions or no or yes. It's more in the gray area that we operate than claiming any certain political or economical or financial, environmental, taking any stand as a concrete.
Speaking of arguments, Priyanka, how do you call out a brand which is not being inclusive on social media without starting an argument?
That's a great question. Social media has become a platform which is predominantly filled with arguments and trolling and fights, and there's very less positivity. There's a lot of negativity. Let's be honest. Most of us go on Twitter to complain about a certain airlines or a certain cell phone service provider because we know that's where they're going to respond. So social media has become a platform that is about complaining and creating arguments. But that being the case, when we talk about inclusivity and brands not realizing when they are non-inclusive, I think it's important to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is that you want to let the brand know that you are not including me or people like me or people like my friend who is a minority in your communication. And to create this awareness with the brand that they need to start including these people in the communication. That's the ultimate aim. So it's not about creating an argument in the comment section. I think the right way to do it would be sending a personal message to the brand. There are DMs on Twitter, there are personal messages on Instagram. So when you see a post that a certain brand has made, which is non-inclusive, you drop a message on their Instagram, you drop a message on their Twitter saying, hey, I saw this post and I think you guys were not fair about this. I just wanted to give you a quick example. There's this really good brand in India, which is a food-related brand. And this brand very often comes up with posts related to recipes and dishes and all of that. And it's a very nice brand. It's a brand that you want to follow because their content is very interesting. In India, people are very sensitive about beef because cow is considered sacred. And so what happened with this brand was every time they would put out a dish which was made of beef, they wouldn't mention beef in the message. They would say meat. But every time they put out a dish made of fish or chicken, it says fish or chicken. Just the beef would be changed to meat. And this maybe the brand did not want to get into trouble in a country like India where cow is considered sacred. Maybe they felt, it's not right to mention beef. So one of my friends had sent a personal message to the brand saying, hey, I've been following you for the past year and I love the content that you're putting out, but don't you think it's wrong or unfair that every time you change beef to meat, you are unconsciously, you are commenting on the fact that people who have beef are wrong. When you look at it from that point of view, it is. Because when you look at this brand which has, let's say, 1 million followers, and they talk about food and the beauty of food and how different items taste, and suddenly you have this brand not mentioning the word beef at all, when it's a food item, it's an ingredient that a lot of people consume. It's like the brand is saying beef is not supposed to be consumed, or that beef is not an okay item to be consumed. And when my friend had messaged them, DM'd them about this, the brand was so nice that they had gotten back immediately. They said, this is a very valid argument. We didn't look at it from this point of view. Give us 14 days, couple of weeks. We will have an internal discussion about this and get back. And after 14 days, the brand started using the word beef in their communications. And they sent out a personal message to my friend saying, hey, we reviewed whatever you had sent to us, and we feel you were right. And we can use the word in our communications. Thank you for bringing this to our notice. We are always looking for suggestions on how to be more inclusive. Thank you for that. I think this is perfect. This is exactly what a brand should do. And it's okay if the brand did get back saying, we don't want to, going forward, we don't want to use the word because we still think it's offensive. But it's nice that the brand closed the loop of feedback, they closed it with a response to the customer who brought it to them. I think this is an example of how it could be done.
So I'll just add to what Priyanka said. Brands are definitely getting inclusive because we also have been working with some of the brands who, for some of the brands, we are doing some film shoots, for a leading life insurance company in India. They are doing some signature films and they want to go to the route, where they really want the film to be done by an influencer who's like a somebody who's risen from the slum, that kind of a person. And they really want to go real. So if you give suggestions to the brand, they're pretty open now, and they know that they have to reach out to the exact audiences. So they are open, but still I think it's a long way to go. Yeah.
And just to add on how you can tell a brand they're not being inclusive without starting an argument, there's a bath bomb brand called Lush. They make 100% animal cruelty free bath bombs. And if you were to see a competitor on their ingredients and not following that, one option is to go to a private body corporate that protects animal rights and show them that competitor that they need to fix that. An alternative method would be to go to an animal rights Facebook group and just tell everyone to spam that company's email box until they fix it. We'd like to do something different now. We'd want to ask the audience a question, and the question is, how can we prioritize representation? Hands up if you'd like to answer. How can we prioritize representation?
Can we get some hands? Yeah.
I think by simply just providing equal opportunities, that could be something to start off with.
Agree. Here's another.
I entirely agree with that. Equal representation. So even at our company, we try to, it's a rule when I'm hiring people. So whenever I hire a male or a female, I look into the company, I see how many do we have? Do we have a 50-50 equal trade-off? Do we include students? Do we include single mothers? One of our latest hires, Danica, she's a barista. And one thing she told me when she was being hired is, no one is hiring her just because she's a single mother and a student, which I found to be a grave disservice to everyone who might be experiencing something like that. So including something like that into your workforce is something very important. It goes the same with brands. If you are marketing to a certain target market, you might be surprised that if you include other areas, you might find a different market to be able to market to. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much. That was a great answer. Would like to open the floor to any other questions for the panel regarding this topic.
I would like to ask the panelists, and we have a diverse panelist, but diversity is a matter of what you show in your content and marketing, stuff like that. But I think more than anything, it's a mindset as well, right? A mindset of the company, the culture of the company. So my question is maybe to some of the panelists, like I know Amy, you're in the mindset field. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more, like how do you shift your mindset, or how do you create a mindset that can be inclusive, can be positive to the company and the culture?
Sure, absolutely. So mindset is very important, right? As a person or as for the company. So your question is, how do you shift? First thing is, you gotta understand who you are as a person, and you are vibrating. You're sending out a frequency and sending out a message all the time. So going back to what I was saying earlier is show, don't tell. So by being an example on your social media platform yourself, by showing up for your audiences, your authenticity, and how you can relate, that's how you show your audience how to do that instead of just telling them. So what I would say is being the positive yourself, right? Be the change that you want to see in the world, and then everybody will follow. So thank you.
Denise, would you like to add?
Yeah. So Amy and I are in somewhat similar fields. We're both coaches. I would say I really like to dream. I go into dreams. I see the end state. And when I work with, so most of my clienteles are what I would call the spiritual entrepreneurs, healers, and influencers. And these are the change makers, right? These are the people who are making a massive difference on this planet. And what comes with that are limiting beliefs. Are you all familiar with limiting beliefs? Does everybody feel like they're not good enough at some points? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So how do we get past that? Well, that's where you start to come into the end state. We have to write the dream down. We have to start connecting with the dream with emotion. And once we start to connect with emotion, and this is part of where my work in hypnotherapy comes in, is I'm gonna go into the subconscious and like rewire that stuff. So you're overriding your internal system, so you're creating a whole new neural pathway in your brain. So guess what? You believe that you are that. And then eventually, what happens, she's talking about frequency, you meet that frequency and you become that.
Lovely. There's a question there.
Thank you for the session. My question is, for B2C, we talked about a lot about inclusions and having it represented the right way. How do you think that we can address in the B2B messaging even? When you run a campaign for B2B brands, I have not seen personally something which is inclusive from a gender perspective or otherwise. So I just want to hear your thoughts.
I can answer that. Depending on what type of client you have, you can include it in the strategy. For example, we did a campaign with a music streaming service in Africa where we got the biggest musicians on the continent to play a soccer match at a girls' school, and all the funds raised from that day went to improving the first team soccer pitch. So the answer will be to include it in the strategy you execute for that brand. Does that answer the question? Anyone else would like to contribute to the answer?
I would say ask them what is their biggest problem. What is the most expensive problem that they have right now? Because you don't want to solve their second most expensive problem. So to know that, you need to ask them, and when you are open with questions, you will understand more about their mindset. So depending if this is B2B or B2C, it works in the same way. If you don't resonate with their most expensive problem, your solution will not fit, because you need to understand and let them speak and just listen. Just listen, ask good questions. I think that every person's success, all of us who we are here, is based on how good questions we make, because depending on the question, we either get the desired answer or the desired question for the next question to ask from the next person. So from your clients, I would definitely ask them questions and encourage them to comment below and share their opinions with you, give feedback and ask, are we doing something wrong? Do you have some other problems? Sometimes I have some of my marketing managers and they say, look, these people are not resonating with us. So I say, did you actually communicate them what keeps them awake at night? Do you understand and do you resonate? Do you have yourself this problem? And if not, please go to learn on Google about this problem, because if you don't understand the depth of it, neither what are the consequences of that problem that they have, you cannot quantify how big it is. And only when you can quantify, you can help them with everything you have, and they are ready to pay you a lot when you resonate with them at the same level.
Okay, we're running out of time. Closing remarks is statistically 9 out of 10 millennials will change a brand to a competitor if they are not socially inclusive. So it's extremely important for brands to take that into account nowadays, especially because Gen Z and millennials are taking positions of power. Their purchasing power is also increasing. So it's important to take into account what you stand for and how you can help the world. Thank you all for being here and for your time.
Thank you so much to our amazing panelists. What a great discussion.